This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topic News open dialogue today on the recommendations made by the Grand Bahama Hawkville Creek Agreement Review Committee. Discussions taking place during the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce's monthly meeting. The chairman of the review committee talking about the role of that committee and how the government's policy decisions can affect the business sector. Chairman of the Hawkville Creek Agreement Review Committee, Dr. Marcus Bethel, giving an extensive overview of the committee's recommendations to the government, which were also tabled in the House of Assembly. Many members of the chamber are licensees of the Grand Bahama Port Authority and will be impacted by the policy decision of the government. Dr. Bethel explained why the agreement was extended for another 3 months.
The government is concluding a number of negotiations locally and abroad with major stakeholders, as the newsprint has carried, MSC, Hutchison, and the families, to bring a resolution to a number of issues, which would then, with the utilization of the data provided by the review committee, would then facilitate their policy determination, which has not been concluded, but they are certainly on track to finish before this 3-month extension expires.
One concern of chamber members was utilities.
Utilities, at the inception of the Hawkville Creek Agreement, were to be under the regulatory powers of the Port Authority. So, I pointed out earlier that with respect to IRCA and the government's sovereign decision that IRCA becomes the regulatory body for power, that there will be some determination that has to be settled in the courts. And it now becomes a matter of whether the licensees want the higher rates or whether they want IRCA to equalize the rates across the Bahamas.
He also took the opportunity to dispel the rumor regarding the government and the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
The Port Authority has a management team. The government has said, the Prime Minister has said in Parliament, the government does not wish to manage the port. It wants to be at the table to help move the economic revitalization forward.
For detailed information on the committee's recommendations, you can visit their website at www.hcareview.org. In other news, the debate over the release of 2 Cuban nationals continued throughout the country, and the issue made its way to the halls of Parliament this morning. The men were released by the Supreme Court after being held for almost 3 years. Despite this controversy, more Cuban migrants are taking to the high seas in search of a better way of life. 7 Cubans, 5 males and 2 females, and a dog were all intercepted at sea yesterday. The group were rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard cutter William Flores a few miles south of Anguilla Key in the area of Key Sal Bank. Now, the group was on board a rustic vessel and were reportedly en route to the United States. The Cuban migrants were handed over to immigration officers this afternoon at the Lucayan Harbor. Meantime, the migrants, who all appear to be in good health, were transported to the Immigration Department for processing and will be flown to the capital to await repatriation. Meantime, immigration officers locating 2 Brazilians overnight at a resort in Freeport. They were reportedly making preparatory steps to be smuggled into the United States. Reports say the 2 Brazilians are well known to immigration officers as they were part of a group that were apprehended at a resort in the southern part of Freeport about 3 weeks ago and were subsequently sent back home to Brazil. Now, the 2 Brazilians returned to the Bahamas by way of Nassau last Sunday, February 14th, and were admitted for a period of 1 week. Their visitors' time expired 3 days ago and no extension was given. The Brazilians will be flown to Nassau tomorrow to be repatriated once again. The 2 were deported from the United States just a few years ago. An Operation Cleanup in Abaco arresting a 25-year-old man on Central Pines for possession of marijuana. Officers then executed a search warrant on the suspect's residence and discovered a quantity of marijuana and ammunition. The suspect's 19-year-old brother was also arrested. Both are wanted for questioning on armed robbery charges. Operation Turf Sweep continuing on Grand Bahama. Around 6 p.m. yesterday, officers went to the Coral Gardens area and discovered 26 potted marijuana plants and bushes. No arrests were made in this matter. And the run-up to this country's next general election heating up, and one political party is looking to appeal to a greater portion of the electorate, including Grand Bahama. Joan Davis-Roll has this story.
I remember the days when the bazaar was popping.
The executive team of the Democratic National Alliance, DNA, making a stop on Grand Bahama recently as officials continue to advance the party's vision. Party members are attempting to provide an alternative as they campaign to broaden their reach among the next generation of voters. Party Vice Chairman Marsha Thompson says the island of Grand Bahama is vital to the success of the DNA.
We're just going to reach out to the people. The last time we were here, we went into the impoverished neighborhoods, because we have to ensure that the people understand that the DNA cares about their concerns. This is not about politics. This is about, human beings and their plight in this season of our nation. And so therefore, we're going to go through the length and breadth of this island and reach out to the people.
She says the DNA has heard the concerns of residents on Grand Bahama and that true economic empowerment must come to those in the nation's second city.
Because the days and the weeks and the months are growing, very adverse. You have people who cannot find food to eat. You have people who are losing their homes. This is the best country in the world. I always believe that this is the place where God lives. But with poor governance, we are missing it.
This season of the country's development, Thompson notes, demands focused leadership. Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
In other news, a man considered to be a fair and fierce advocate of hotel workers has passed away. The veteran unionist was a key player in the Bahamas Hotel, Catering and Allied Workers Union and played a critical role in protecting the rights of members in the hotel industry. Tonight, a fellow unionist takes a look at the life and the legacy of Lloyd Cooper and his contributions to the labor movement in the country. Sabrina Brown reports.
I always used to hear him say in his speech when he up there, he said, "I'm a Cooper, not a grouper."
Former Secretary General with the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union, Leo Douglas, remembering fallen trade unionist Lloyd Cooper, who passed away on Saturday following a brief illness. He says Cooper started out as an advisor in the hotel union back in the 1980s while he was employed at the Princess Hotel. He says Cooper had a passion to help workers.
Mr. Cooper had pulled a wildcat strike, as I understood then, and he took all the people out in the parking lot and stood up on the car, and he had them about 800 people. He was rallying them up, speaking to them because of some dispute. And so the manager told Mr. Bastian, who Cooper was a shop steward, said, "You have him because he's fired."
Cooper was elected second vice president of the hotel union in 2000 and served in that position until 2009. Douglas referred to Cooper as a model trade unionist who represented his members well.
He had taken care of this branch here, very, very, very effectively. He was very good. And as I said, he was straightforward, never play around. When it comes to management, if he had to fight, he fight. And then if he has to sit down and negotiate or compromise, he knew how to do that. He was a very effective union officer.
He says although Cooper was fearless, he was a fair leader.
One of the things you find with him, if an employee was wrong, he had no problem to tell them right out, "You are wrong, and I'm not going to indulge or represent you because no use going to the management, you're wrong." And that was the kind of person he was.
Douglas says Cooper was also responsible for reviving the Commonwealth Union of Hotel Services, which now represents line staff at the Grand Lucayan Resort. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.